meant to start. We're live.
Hello everybody, welcome to our May edition of Dinner with the Devs. I am here with the lovely team, well some of the team of I Expect You to Die. We have a lot of exciting stuff to talk about. Today we're releasing the information about the new content that's coming out, new level that will be coming out soon, the summer of 2019. And first, before we get into all of that conversation, we are going to introduce ourselves. We're going to start that way and go all the way around.
All right. Hi everyone, my name is Mihao and I am a designer on I Expect You to Die. And I help design the new content.
Hi, my name is Michelle. I'm an artist on the team.
Hi, my name is Dan. I was the art director on the team.
Dwayne, marketing team.
I'm Thorin. I'm another artist on the team.
I'm Charlie. I was the project director for Level 6.
And I'm Ken. I'm the engineer.
And then on the live chat, our moderators are advanced producer John Joy. He's the producer of the content for I Expect You to Die as well. So yeah, we're super excited to talk about the game. Any questions, comments you have about I Expect You to Die, please put into the live chat. We would love to answer as many questions as you can, or as we would like to answer. Yeah, as many answers as you can. Yeah, let's try to figure that out. We won, yesterday, I Expect You to Die went live on the Quest, so you have any questions about that as well, please put that in the live chat and John will make sure that we get to those. But first, Charlie, tell us, for those who don't know about I Expect You to Die, that very small audience that doesn't know about I Expect You to Die, what is it about and what could they look forward to with the new content?
Cool. So I Expect You to Die, for those of you who don't know, is a virtual reality escape the room game where you get to act as a super spy who starts off in levels usually not very smart and dies quite often, but then by the end you are an incredibly accomplished, awesome spy that knows all of the puzzles and is able to win and do usually impossible feats with ease. For this next level, can I say the name of the level?
You can say the name of the level.
All right. Level 6 for I Expect You to Die is called Seat of Power. You'll be getting closer than ever to the heart of Zeraxis. You'll get to be in some of Dr. Zor's close quarters. We have been to Dr. Zor's lodge before. We've been in Dr. Zor's car, a submarine escape pod, and this is probably the closest we've ever been to Dr. Zor before.
Very cool. So I liked your point in describing how the player is in I Expect You to Die, that you're training to be this super elite spy, to be clever. How, and I can open this up to the rest of you, how does it feel to create, or design a game that's supposed to teach the player to be clever? Ken, how about you?
Well, one of our core guiding principles for building the game from the beginning was to lead them to cleverness. So it's a matter of putting you in situations where you can sort of I can see how that would work in the real world. Like in the car level is a great example. So like the car levels, most but not all of our players have been in the car before. So it's like, oh, I know how to operate a car. I just have to get out of an airplane. I've never done that before. So it's like you have to take a mix of things you do know, things you do understand with situations you never would have imagined yourself in. It's like, that's how you, what can I do with this? Oh, what else can I do with this? And so looking at things you unlock throughout the level in a new light, taking something that obviously works one way, it's like, how can I use this in a different way other than how it was intended to get an extravagant, fancy result that leads you to victory or your own untimely demise.
Sometimes I like to think of it as, it starts off kind of as a comedy of you making mistakes and dying in hilarious ways, and it ends up as a cool action movie. So part of that is, subverting expectations of thinking of in the sub where you're opening up drawers to try to find something to solve the puzzles with, and of course one of the cabinets is full of a ton of grenades. And you probably won't make the mistake of opening that cabinet a second time, or if you do, at least you'll do it gingerly and not completely winging it open and throwing all the grenades into the air.
I mean, where do you keep your grenades? I keep my grenades in the cabinet.
but they gotta go somewhere.
Yeah, that's right. The special grenade drawer.
It
right?
should have been labeled, is the thing. You don't put
Right,
grenades
why
in
is
a
it-
cabinet
why is it-
and not label it. Ah, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. So, Thorin, a lot of people who are regular streamers may recognize you from the intern stream, and now with you being on the, well, they didn't know that you were on the I Expect You Die team at the time. I don't think, but
I don't think so.
yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, we didn't really go into like what you guys were working on.
Yeah.
But as you joined this team and saw how I Expect You to, like the behind the scenes of making I Expect You to Die, what are some moments or takeaways that you had from that?
Oh boy.
As detailed as possible. No.
Okay. I don't know. It was interesting because I started on the port team before I started on the new content. So.
And describe port team.
So we had a team specifically tasked with porting the original game to Quest before we started creating the new content. So that sort of served as like a ramp on to actually creating the content, whereas with the port team, we were sort of modifying stuff and getting it to run on this new platform. So there's a ton of stuff that I learned about optimizing and the way assets are created for a puzzle game like this. That was super useful. It was a little while ago, so I'm having trouble coming up with details, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's, I don't know, is there anything else?
No, you brought me to a good point. A lot of you didn't really describe what you said you were maybe an artist or design, and what exactly did you do to help with the new content, Mihal?
Yeah, so as the design director for the game, I was kind of charged with guiding how the level will flow, and gathering, teams' ideas and feedback, and try to come up with the type of puzzles and challenges and fun moments that we felt would make for the best level and be, possible to accomplish given our just deadlines and times and size of the team. So beyond, and that kind of happens at the beginning of making a new level for I Expect You to Die. You have to spend a good amount of time making sure that you have a plan that everyone on the team and all the other disciplines are bought into, that we all believe that it's possible to execute, and that it's going to be a fun time. So the designer's role in that is to propose ideas, listen to concerns, and come up with solutions or ways to mitigate those concerns. And then the bigger chunk maybe of the development process is getting into the engine, which is Unity in our case, and actually piecing together some of those interactions. So this is where you work again with both tech and art to create assets in progressively more detailed level, or more progressively larger amount of detail to them, and actually create those interactions. And then what else? Oh yeah, and then finally you test them. You set up play tests. You go and watch people go through the level, see where they get stuck, what kind of things they do that you didn't think anyone would try to do, which always happens, and you take away whatever learnings from that, and again try to decide what kind of what does it mean for our level, how should it change in response to that playtest. So you do a little bit of kind of a whole bunch of touching different parts of the level, but in general you're trying to make sure that everyone knows what we're trying to do and everyone is happy about the direction we're going.
I can add on to that.
Yeah, please.
So I started pretty late in this new level, so when I joined the team I was mostly working on assets and not many of the interactive ones, but working with this team for as long as I have, it's been a real joy just sharing ideas. Like, I can contribute to like some of the flow ideas or some of the tech ideas, and it's been really great. And this has allowed me to make the process more about inserting myself into this game, or like someone with my background, like what about spies makes me excited, and where can I insert this, whether it's a prop or like maybe possible characters. But yeah, it's just been a really fun process, especially since a team like this is really open to new ideas and perspectives.
I think my favorite part of Seat of Power was actually Thorn's idea out of the blue. It's like, I think it was one of his first days on the team. It's like, oh, that's terrible. No, it's brilliant. I love it. And everyone agreed, and there it was. But it's got to stay a secret.
I was confused for a second. No, I know. Okay.
So, Dan, what type of things did you contribute to the team?
Yeah, so I was also involved with the porting process at first, and so before that, I had played Spectre and the levels, but I hadn't necessarily understood how the game worked, and so going through the porting process was definitely helpful in, I guess taking off the skin and seeing how it worked underneath, understanding how things could be better, or how certain things are already working, and then working on the new level. I think seeing it come together, I think with art, since a lot of the game is reliant on design and the puzzles, you have to think about like, oh, what does this look like, but not yet. You just want to make sure it's functional first, and then after we decide if it's working, okay, now we can sort of finish off this art. Or sometimes it's just, oh, we need something here, so what should that be? And then we make a quick decision. So I think there's a lot of iteration, and then after iteration, making sure there's just enough polish to get everything looking really great. Yeah.
Very cool. We have a question from Radjack08. Thanks for joining us, Radjack. It says, is there a new game? So, I Expect You Die came out in December 2016, but we have regularly added either new content to the game or brought it to a different platform. It was released on the Oculus Rift as a touch partner, a touch launch partner in December 2016. Then a week later, we launched it on PSVR. Then April 2017, we put it on the Vive, and then a month or two later, we put it on Microsoft Mixed Reality, and then we added it to a couple stores. After that, then we added First Class, and now we're adding new content and bringing it to the question. I figured I'd just take that question. So yeah, it's not new in the point that the whole thing is coming out, but new content's generally rolling out, and we've made it new in different ways and bringing it to different audiences. So thank you for that, Rajak. For people who might not have known its history. So how did the team approach in designing Seat of Power? Who would like to take that one? Charlie.
Sure, I'll take that one. In general at Schell Games, our approach to design is we believe everyone on the team is a designer. So a lot of it is brainstorms, and not just with people on the team, but also with people in the studio. We like to just gather everyone into a room and use a bunch of different kinds of processes for generating ideas, sometimes with prompts. And then it's primarily the work of the design team to look at all of the brainstorm ideas and try to find either synergy among the ideas, or if they're starting to paint pictures, or which idea groups had the most attention and excitement, and see if we can then reflect that back to the team and say, like, is this what we were excited about? Seeing the ideas again after a little digestion, is that generating yet new ideas, and we're starting to fill in the space between? And just like designing, playtesting, and iterating based on that, there's a bit of that just in the brainstorm initial process of coming up with ideas, reflecting them back to the team, iterating on those ideas even before we make any level content, until we have a single direction. Still has open questions in it, but it's enough to build something and test.
Very cool. Anybody like to add anything to that?
Yeah, I think when we're making a new level, we have to really think about, you know, what is in the level, right? It's really hard to make a decision on what we think is fun, and sometimes you don't know what will be fun. You have to actually, you know, play test it with other people before you can see what works and what doesn't. And so I think the initial process of just deciding what should be in the game and going through that process, and then seeing things maybe like after a while, you know, if you decide on something work for the first time and seeing the level come together, I think that's definitely like a process that's rewarding. Yeah.
And go ahead.
Something else that a lot of, I guess, companies in the game industry use, and we also lean on, is this concept of design pillars that we use. And those are kind of our leading principles or qualities that we want the game or the product to embody. And we use them to kind of weigh decisions against. So in case of IEYTD, our team actually came to you know, make new content for it, so the pillars were already in place. So we have 3 pillars, and one of them is believe that you're there, which is basically kind of more of a general VR pillar maybe, that says, you know, we want to make sure that you feel like you are really there, and anything that would go against that is, you know, needs to be heavily justified, or in general, if something goes against the pillar, you must have a very good reason to do that, right? So there's believe you're there, then there's lead you to cleverness, which is our way of saying we want the players to feel like they figured out a puzzle, not like the solution was given and they just had to look around and be like, all right, this is the keyhole, and where's the key? Oh, it's over there. Like, you know, I did it. That doesn't feel super great. We want you to do some kind of mental gymnastics to actually be able to arrive at a solution, and that makes you feel good. The best puzzles in IEYTD are the ones where someone says like, I figured it out, I'm a genius. There's that feeling that people will describe that I felt like a genius when I did that, and that's what we're after with this pillar.
And some of that is also ultimate solves. There's a lot of ways, like through playtesting, like, one person will come up with a completely different solution to a puzzle that someone else did, and trying our best to support all of those different ways. That helps also support, like, believe you're there, when you have a realistic solution to a problem coming from multiple angles, supporting them all. That feels really good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, people will always find a way to solve a puzzle that we haven't thought of, and often we're able to implement it. We're able to say, yeah, let's do that. Like that should also be a way to solve. And our third pillar is
Layers of discovery.
layers of discovery. And I figured them out before I spoke, so I'm like, I better not screw this up. Layers of discovery, which is kind of this thing where we want it to feel like you keep uncovering new things to interact with, and you kind of, as you progress through the level, get to have additional discoveries. So, you know, this sometimes means that, yeah, you find another use for an item that you thought was just a cigar, but now you can use it to, you know, not get killed. And then that was not related to anything. And then, you know, or maybe it's just that, you know, as you play the level and you find a hidden compartment, it opens up into a room that now offers you all these new things to explore and find. So yeah, so we have pillars that we heavily use in the design process to kind of make sure that we're staying true to what an IEYTD level wants to be, or should be.
Cool. Let's see. We got some good questions. Let's see, Gumball's Game Room. Thanks for coming in, Gumball's Game. I like that. Gumball's Game Room. What were some of the challenges in developing for different platforms, etc., or like PC, console, and which is your favorite?
I could take that.
Yes.
So the challenge is, like, I was on development of the entire game except for First Class. So one of the big problems early on when we started was we started with the original Oculus headsets and no controllers. So we were building a game for VR headset, 3 degrees of freedom, which meant you could look around but you couldn't lean or anything, and then you had a mouse to interact with the world. And as we developed, it was like, oh, Oculus we've got these touch controllers now, so we're gonna have to change the game and make it so you can use your hands, and oh, by the way, you can move in all these different ways. Now, okay, that's great, but that added complexity to the development process. And different platforms support things better or worse. So like PSVR is great, but it has less room to lean, and like the light levels in people's living rooms versus people who have it in their office. There's a lot of just little things that make the different platforms have like strengths and weaknesses. And the Quest, for instance, was an amazing little piece of hardware that you got all this power just strapped to your face, no wires, and really good controllers, and you can move around everywhere. And we would have loved to build a new level with like, yes, let's cut the cords and make it so you can walk around the room and go anywhere and do anything, but we still need to support all of our players on PlayStation, on original Oculus, and Vive and such that don't have that freedom of movement, so we remain a seated experience for the developer.
Cool. Let's see. How about... Oh, so Dragon Gamer. I know you asked a couple questions. We're going to try to get to them. Let's go with first, how many new levels are coming out in the summer? How many new levels are coming out in the summer specifically?
In the summer.
So along with Seat of Power.
There is another level planned after Seat of Power.
So whenever we talk about what's coming out, close right now, it's just Seat of Power. We have more content planned after Seat of... I'll give you a leg.
Did I get it right?
Sure. Yeah, you got it right. So Seat of Power is coming out. We do have more content planned for I Expect You to Die, but we're super excited for everyone to experience Seat of Power. How it's coming out on all the platforms that we're currently supporting, plus the Quest. So all of that is good. Unfinished Comb Studios asked, will there be a prize for 100%ing the game?
I mean, each one of our achievements, in-game achievements, is tied to a souvenir, which is what we call items that you get to bring back to your staging level. I guess the office is where you launch missions from. So in a sense, yes. You will get all of the souvenirs. I don't know if we are planning to have something special for 100% in the game, and we don't know when we'll stop making content for it. So, no clear answer there, sorry.
That is true. Let's see. Will we get new weapons from Launchpad Music? Will there be new weapons in the game?
I can answer that one.
Okay.
Probably right this time. So traditionally in I Expect You to Die levels, you don't come into the level with anything. Everything that you find is somewhere in the room. So in Seat of Power, you will find new spy gadgets and items, but they are not given to you at the start. You will have to find them on your own.
There you go. Anybody like to add?
How helpful are the weapons usually? Yeah, that's helpful.
The guns?
Yeah.
Guns usually, I end up killing myself accidentally with them. They usually don't help me solve things.
They're very dangerous.
They are?
That's true. That's true.
It's the old adage, when your only tool is a hammer, every problem starts looking like a nail.
Yes, indeed.
Or if you have a drawer of grenades, no, never mind.
You've got your grenades. You're a happy man. I don't know.
Yeah, I thought I was going somewhere. Nope, wasn't going anywhere. Let's see, Ryan. Hey, good to see you, Ryan. Ryan is asking, have you thought about any exclusive levels for the different platforms, or is it better to keep the player base together? Anyone can take that.
I'll take it again. We don't have any plans for exclusive content for platforms, and in general, yeah, we do like to make sure that all of our levels are playable on all the different platforms so that nobody feels left out and everyone gets to have to share a good time. Yeah, so keeping the community together in that way is important to us.
Cool. Let's see. Dragon Gamer asks, what level is the team most proud of? Or what's your favorite level? Or let me add another one. What particular things in different levels are you, most fond of? Because I know not all of you worked on every single level. Go ahead, Michelle.
Sorry.
So I didn't work on the train level, of course. It was the level preceding Seat of Power, the last one. Mostly because of all the different voices you get to hear. It's really cool to imagine a world with a lot of other people, in VRs, even if they're NPCs. I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah, my favorite was also the train level because it was the only one I hadn't worked on. It was my first time I could get to play a level of the game completely blind. It's like, wow, this is so great. So getting to finally be on the other side of the headset for once, that was really cool.
I think I'm the opposite. I think my favorite level is this new level because I was able to, be in there and see how everything worked and know all the different solutions. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to not like the one level that I fully got to work on, which is the latest level. I think my main reason for it is the type of characters we have in there.
Cool.
So,
Thor?
Yeah, probably a similar thing for me. It's the only one I've worked on, so the last level has been, the latest level, excuse me, has been really fun and really a proud thing. I do really enjoy speedrunning the car, though. It's got a really nice, concise flow to it. I just feel like really cool when I finish that level and speedrun it.
Very cool. Gosh, for me, I think watching people, especially content creators, as they stream Deep Dive, the submarine level, it's funny to watch because there are a lot of really cool moments in there when they surprise that something's there. It's like, oh, there's a bunch of grenades. Like, what? Who has grenades? And it keeps coming up, but I think it's hilarious. And then seeing, to Ken's point, all the different ways people solve the levels are really cool. In that the fact that the team has thought that out for a lot of the levels is, to me, very, very impressive. Let's see.
Just kicking
Yeah.
Charlie.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you answered already. Sorry, Charlie.
I don't think I have a favorite level, but I have a lot of favorite moments. I really like the window washing moment where you have to pretend you're a window washer. It's one of my favorites. I didn't even know that there's actually someone that you can see who can shoot you because I never turn around. I'm always very diligently watching the window. Only in subsequent testing did I actually try to fire a gun at the guy in the window. I really like the car because of knowing how it feels to be in a car and how much we can use that space in the puzzle. So yeah, I feel like in each one it has moments I really like. Also just talking to people after having played something like The Lodge and hearing how different people solve the laser puzzle at the end. For myself, I had what I thought was a novel solution, and then to hear other people had the same one was really fun.
That's cool.
It's always really awesome to discover new solutions or discover what other people have done. Like working on this, at least once a month there's a solution somebody brings up and I'm like, what? You can do that?
Right.
Mhm.
Especially in the train. The train, there's a ton of them.
Yeah,
And it's just
yeah.
like, it's nuts. Like I never thought of that.
No,
To add
you're
on
right.
to-
No,
I'm sorry.
no, go ahead.
To add on to that, even as we were developing Seat of Power, every meeting someone would bring something up and I'd be like, what? I didn't know this. Someone should have told me or something. So
Happens a lot.
there's just so many solves.
Yeah, because once you find a solution in a level, it's rare that you yourself will try a different solution. Like, I already know how to solve that puzzle.
Yeah.
So sometimes, especially if you're trying to collect all the souvenirs, and the little bit of hint that they give you in the souvenir titles can encourage people to try to solve things in new and different ways to get those Easter eggs.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. Let's see. Sorry to skip you, Charlie.
No.
That was my fault. My fault. I was just so excited to get to more questions. Let's see. Dragon Gamer asks, are there going to be people like the sniper on Window Washer in Seat of Power?
Yes. I'm just gonna say
Next
it.
question.
Next question.
Better, even better than the guy, the nameless guy in the window.
Let's see. Master K Dude, good to see you back, and one of our loyal watchers. Master K Dude asks, how is progress going on the new levels? And in the files, what were called levels 7 through 16.
Uh-oh.
What type of files are you talking about, Master K
You found
Dude?
something deep in the archive.
yeah, that's right.
I know nothing about that. That's actually true.
In
I'm
the
the
file-
engineer and I don't know anything about that either.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to look.
Yeah, Master Katie, if you can elaborate, that would be great. But progress going on in Seat of Power, pretty good.
Yes.
All right, next question. Thank you, Master Katie.
Fucking Game Gear.
Adit, I hope I'm saying that right, asks, have you guys considered making a level editor so the players could make their own content?
It's definitely been something talked about because something that's kind of inherent to the puzzle genre is it doesn't have a ton of replayability. So if we were able to have something like a level editor where either players could make content for other players, or even it would be easier for us to make new content faster, something like that, that's been of interest. I don't think we've developed more on that because there is still something really nice about spending a lot of time to make a really well curated, designed puzzle level that can be clever and interesting and have all these layers to it, and characters and setting. And that makes something like a level editor much more challenging to build something like that.
Yeah, a lot of our functionality in those levels, even though you definitely learn that there are tools and objects that we have and they're repeatable, and there's a screwdriver and a gun and grenades, all sorts of things that come back and you learn how to use. At its core, or when you get down to look real close, there's a lot of very custom solutions and complex, logic that goes in place to afford those alternative solutions and weird interactions that you can think of. What happens when I set this on fire or that, and it's just a daunting task to try to say, we can create a level editor flexible enough to support that. But I agree that it would be really exciting, and maybe we can entertain that idea in the future, but there's no concrete plans.
Cool. So Master Katie got back to us, and I don't know, Ken, maybe you might know this. It says in the Steam common files, there were little docs in the I Expect You to Die folder, and in one of those folders it showed levels 7 through 16.
That could just be part of how Unity builds the game, but there are no levels 7 through 16 in what we've already shipped. It's not like we're not holding on.
We're slowly releasing levels 7 through 16.
Like it could be counting like the splash screen that asks you to pick your controller. It could be that could be in its mind a level. The opening credits is probably counting as a level. The closing credits is probably being counted as a level. So the number of Unity scenes that make up the game is certainly more than the 5 or 6 that are in the game right now. Whether or not you count The Office, I do. That's actually a pretty big level. Yeah, we're not holding on any levels on it now.
Very cool. So hopefully that answers your question, and I think it answers mine as well. That was the first I heard of that. Dragon Gamer, will we get a teaser for Seat of Power? Yes. Let's see. Gumball's Game Room, is anyone on the team super enthusiastic about VR in general? Yes. I find it difficult to get back into non-VR gaming since I felt the immersion of being inside the games. Yeah, there's actually quite a few people on this row who are super excited about the aspects of VR in general. Who would like to go first? I know, I was like, I'll go, but yeah, they're not here to hear me talk. So.
I'll go second. I'm too excited. I gotta cool down.
Okay, so second, third, maybe fourth.
I'm not excited. I'm kidding. No,
I was like, pass.
I'm
yeah.
less excited than other people, but yeah, I guess what I'm excited for is for things like the Quest, which will be accessible to a large audience, and wireless, right? Like less clunky, less clumsy, and like kind of put VR, into your house, most households, or something like that. Like I want this to be, I want to play multiplayer games is what I am mostly excited about, and VR hasn't been that exciting for that area. But I'm super excited for that to change with things like with things like the Quest.
You said second.
Please, Thorne.
Go for it, Thor.
I'm really excited about the Quest 2. I haven't ordered mine yet, but definitely going to at some point in the near future. But one thing I'm really excited about is just thinking of different games that you could possibly design for VR, and especially for the Quest because it has so much freedom. I hate tripping over wires. Everything I have is wireless. If it's not stationary, it doesn't have a wire. And just this new like mobility and all of the cool features it has, and like there's a ton of possibility for all of the design things and all of the freedom you have with moving around and moving your controllers, and especially now that the system is so much cheaper than other systems have been. I can't wait to see all the new cool titles that come out, and I can't wait to see what I can try to pile together with my weak engineering skills and my
Awesome art skills.
I'll make something that looks really cool, but you won't be able to do anything. I don't know, but it's a really cool frontier. I'm so excited about what the Quest has to bring.
I am also very excited. And I recently got an Oculus Quest. They were released yesterday, and it's an absolute joy to play with it. And in reference to the question and comment about VR games versus non-VR games, I'm also finding it as hard to get excited about non-VR titles these days, at least in imagining designing games for it, but also playing them. Just because it is such a new space with new controls. Whenever I show VR off to my family or friends, a lot of people who don't play games, they find like the controls and all that intimidating, or they didn't grow up with them, so they're not used to it. But they can play VR and jump right in. They can reach out and grab something. So there's a level to it that's more intuitive, certainly more immersive, and I like designing physical games like sports and things like that. So VR bridges that gap between digital video games and physical games, and that's super exciting to me. Like I can't wait to make a game where it's important how you move your body, that there's a bit of physicality to it, so that the people who are the best at the game, they're best at the esport, they're athletes, and they're like literally athletes because they need to be physically fit to play the VR game at the highest levels. Ugh. I gotta stop talking.
Go for it.
So when I think about the games that I obsessed over as a kid, like Neopets and Club Penguin, it's just like if we had that in VR, like a social VR with all those different ways to branch out in this like subset of the world, where you can purchase your own stuff, decorate your house, have a pet, and then also develop rituals around that every day.
Go on.
Rituals, that's just like, I guess in Neopets, I would go to the bank, collect some money, play some games to earn some more money. But in VR, adding some physicality to those rituals, I would just never leave. My poor cat in real life would just shed a single tear. Just kidding.
It would survive.
But yeah, social VR and those other like aspects excite me. So yeah.
Very cool.
Sorry, I'm really excited for new control methods for VR, because I think we're getting to a place where you can like sort of getting our bearings in the VR like frontier. I don't know, you've got the Quest, which is really cool. I can't wait for them to come out with like controls that really feel like my hands. Because I had a hard time getting into VR at first because I was a super hardcore gamer, and like mouse and keyboard is like my thing, and I'm like, how do you use hands? And, so like once I got used to that, it felt so cool to be able to like point at things. It's like, oh, that gesture, once that connection was made, felt really cool. So I can't wait for like gloves or something, or new software, even like being able to make art in VR using like cool hand gestures. Like if I'm making something with clay, I pull my fingers like this, and then I like slice the clay, and then move it away, and then like sculpt with my hands. Oh, I'd lose my mind. I just, I turn into a vampire. Nobody would ever see me again. But yeah, just even more than games, just cool software and cool ways to do the things that we already do, but in more intuitive, more like less weighty ways, not so many weird drop-down menus and like searching for tools and stuff, just being able to do it.
Yeah, I'm super excited about VR in general, games in VR, eSports with VR. I mean, I'm a fan of the rise of eSports in general, but putting VR in it because of the physicality and the skill and strategy that could embody VR, because you have movement within a certain, somewhat restricting manner, but still have some freedom within that restriction, if that makes any sense. I'm excited about, in my marketing background, like advertising in VR, how there could be another dimension of that is super interesting. Because I know, you guys hate it, but you guys hate it because you haven't experienced it yet. So I'm super excited about what that could look like, and then just how people behave in just another environment, whether it's socially or by themselves, seeing how that really develops, and how a society that can support VR, what that looks like. Super interested in seeing that develop. Let's see. Radjack08 says, how many levels until a new game, or never? That is, so to Mihal's point, we aren't exactly sure. We're developing new content on a continual basis, so until the studio feels like this is complete and then we move on to another part of I Expect You to Die, that has yet to be determined. Whether we're talking about a new VR game, we have a couple of stuff happening in the studio. For example, the Until You Fall is our virtual reality sword fighting game. I don't know if John put that in the live chat yet. You could check that out. So we are developing a lot more VR content, but on the I Expect You to Die, as the team has mentioned, it's continuing to evolve. And so until we have a definite answer with that, we'll just say maybe to that.
I mean, as long as it has popularity, as long as people love the game, and it continues to sell, I mean, I'm sure the studio will be excited to continue with the franchise in one way or another. So tell your friends to buy the game.
And we're certainly excited too. It's easy, especially in our brainstorms for new content. We have way more ideas than we can possibly ever implement, right? Like it's hard to narrow it down to like, okay, we'll work on this one next. So yeah, there's excitement on the team and internally about making lots of content.
And Sean Patton, thank you, Sean, for watching it. Sean has been instrumental in the creation of I Expect You to Die. He wants us to mention that for those who buy the game, or who have bought the game through the Oculus store, we do support cross-buy for the Oculus Quest. So if you've bought the game through the Oculus store, you buy the Quest, you can get the game. We're not making you pay for it twice through that venue.
Unless you want to.
Unless you want to. If you want to support an indie developer, we're not going to tell you no.
Interestingly, I don't even think you can.
What?
No?
With the cross-buy, it just shows up as free in the
Oh.
store.
There you go. You're welcome.
I can do it now.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll open up a donation outlet if you want to support us. Adit asks, to your point, Charlie talked about how you brainstorm so many ideas more than you can implement. They are asking, how do you guys get inspiration for your levels? How do you guys come up with the levels? Does it start with a theme or set pieces? And they said, for example, first class, but we could just put it in what's it called? For Seat of Power. Like, what was the process of the brainstorming? How did you guys, separate the best ideas to implement?
I could talk. So it starts definitely with where should we go and what's our mission as the player. Since you're a secret agent, you're on a mission. And we start this usually from location, I believe, is kind of our first thing. We want a location that's exciting because this is VR, so you're going to go somewhere that we want you to be excited about. And we have this process of figuring out whether a location ticks enough boxes that make sense for our level. And some of those are, does this feel like a place a secret agent would go? Does this feel like a place where a person will know where they are, that they'll recognize easily? Does this place lend itself to many hilarious ways to kill you? And we kind of have this table where we put all of our very varied, random, and out there ideas, and kind of try to score them as a team. Then we come up with a subset of locations that scored well, and then this is Saul, and then from there we pick something. So location kind of starts it, and then for that we pick exactly what your mission is. Maybe someone else can take over as I figure out what's wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is a little bit mysterious. There's a kind of alchemy that happens with the specific combination of individuals on the team and where their excitements overlap. I think the team that built Seat of Power, we built this level because we are this team, and that former Spectre teams were excited and shared visions on different kinds of things. Either there's spy movies in the past that inspired them, even maybe just a specific tool that they thought would be fun to use in VR, or an interaction in VR they thought would be cool, and we start to build level ideas around that. And eventually, just through time and iteration, the whole virtual world starts to form and become more and more coherent over time.
Iteration is huge with discovering like how you want the level to be. We started out in an entirely different scenario, and I'm allowed to talk about where we started out.
Yeah, I figure.
Sure.
I don't think it's no. Okay.
Okay, we can end up
Keep it on the down low. It started out in an entirely different scenario that we were really excited about to begin with. Like, oh, it has this really cool interaction that we could do in it, and it feels like everything is going to be super vague now. But it has this really cool interaction you can do in it, and it feels grandiose, and you feel like pressure. But then once we tried to design things to continue and to have like separate like acts, there just wasn't a good way to fit those in. So we ended up taking some of the things that we really liked about that location and that scenario, and there are sort of remnants of that in this new Seat of Power level, which is really cool to see the sort of metamorphosis that goes through. And as we play test it internally and externally and seeing what people like and seeing what goes well, it's really cool just to see sort of where we started out and why we may have been wrong to begin with, and then but still being able to take those things that were good about it and put them into a better, more intuitive or a level that just feels better overall.
You're gonna bring up the bathroom?
The classic I expect you to die level that will never be made. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, at
Instead of
least
Sean Patton's White Whale.
every single brainstorm, somebody suggests that the next level should be in a bathroom.
Yeah, so you don't see our producer John is raising his hand. But, you know,
One
whenever,
vote for bathroom.
whenever you get, yeah, not for the bathroom, but for the design of the bathroom, not for the bathroom. So, you know, whenever you guys told me that, we kind of talked about it because in every, you know, action movie or, you know, somewhat, you know, pseudo spy movie, there's a bathroom fight.
Yeah,
So
it's not an impossible place.
it's not impossible.
But there are some,
Mission Impossible.
the more you think about it, the more problematic it can become. Of cloth physics with towels, reflections with mirrors. Usually there's not a whole lot of stuff to do, at least in a bathroom stall. I'm just gonna leave it there.
Yeah. So as you can see, yeah, there's some iteration right in front of you. Those bathrooms probably not the best idea. But I appreciate you guys consistently bringing it up.
Yeah, I mean, that we do make ideas compete against each other, right? So it is always out there, and it's just that other premises or environments or settings, things like that, end up beating it, right? If only one of them, we can only develop one of the levels. It's not that the other ones aren't good, it's just that they weren't as good for this team with the amount of time that we have, the team that we have built in that moment. Especially like if enough people on the team have a really clear vision for how the level would go, and you can imagine it being fun, that goes a long way.
Yeah, one thing I've enjoyed seeing is just different people when they join the team, they have their own ideas. And you know, sometimes that gives a lot of new life to the project, right? And just to see people interested in different things and then they owning that, I think it makes every part of the level, you know, feel really good. Yeah. Cool.
And to add on to that, like, these ideas do like compete with each other, but one really nice thing about this team is like every single idea, even if it's like goofy or weird, has value. It's just like, it has value, it does add something to the game, and then you just mitigate that with the risks to have them compete. But like everything's just so positive the way we share ideas that it's really nice. And that makes it easier to contribute more.
That's a good point.
Yeah, and that they are all captured and not lost. So we have had ideas from previous levels that didn't get implemented that then come back, either because there's people on the team that remember those things and are like, oh, now we can finally do that thing we always wanted to do. And I think that will continue to be true. The stuff that we were excited about but weren't able to get to, either it gets cut for time reasons or whatever, it can always be in something later. And by then we'll have had more time to think about it, potentially be able to plan around implementing it and all those good things.
Yeah, one of my favorite moments from window washing that did not make it ended up at the end of Cedar Power.
Oh, really?
Oh, cool.
I don't even think I know what that is.
Very cool. Yeah, we'll talk off street.
Another thing we do too from a sort of a higher level is we've tried to stagger the levels. So car level starts out in a very tight and closed space, and then we go to window washing, which is much more wide open, and then back to a very tight and closed space, and then a wide open again in level 4. The first class is sort of a hybrid. It's got sort of an enclosed space, but also got kind of wide open off to the side, and we ended up going for a more wide open level for Cedar Power.
Cool.
So just alternating that back and forth, like, oh wow, this is so claustrophobic in the submarine. It's like, oh wow, I'm looking at all this space I have. Don't look down in window washing, like stuff like that.
Okay, so we got a couple more minutes in the stream, so if you have any additional questions, make sure you try to get them in now. Let's see. Chinganeer asks, where's the giant squid monsters at?
Yeah, where are they?
I don't know. How often does a elite super spy find them in the deep sea?
I believe giant squid monster is on the cutting room floor from some level, actually. I believe that.
Were they
is.
really?
Yes, we were going to have a big boss fight finale fighting a giant squid when you surfaced it.
No!
We were.
Wow.
And it was way too big and out of scope and had to get cut.
And then you had to find somebody to rig it,
Who
to
wants to
model
model
it.
and
and-
model and
You can
animate
watch,
that
you
monster
can
also?
watch Finding Dory or just there's giant squid monsters there.
There you go. So yeah, so the giant squid monsters, a little out of scope. So there you
I mean, I
go.
guess
But
maybe
not off
s-
the table for future
But
content.
not off the table.
I mean,
Anything goes.
maybe solve that is like, well, I'm closing the lid on my submarine. I'm going back to the bottom of the ocean. Bye, squid monster.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't want to be on the bottom of the ocean with a giant squid monster around.
The level could be on top of the squid monster, and everything's about trying to survive the
Wow.
predicament. Yes.
So you're
Do you like
riding
taking
the
names,
squid
Mr.
monster.
I've got plenty.
You could be in the stomach of the giant squid monster.
Not
Ooh.
bad. It's getting better. See, this is how it works.
Yeah,
Write this stuff down.
so your escape pod is in
Yeah.
the giant squid.
Right, like car in airplane.
Right.
This is pod in squid.
Right.
Pod and squid.
Pod in squid. That's fair. That could work. Interesting. So, Junior, so no monster, no giant squid monster yet. There we go.
Yeah.
Let's see, Chickenier also asks, can someone tell me why I instinctively put on any
Equipables.
equipables? Thank you. As soon as I see it. Can anyone explain why?
I can.
Go
It's
for it.
fun. That's why you're doing it. If you really search your heart, you'll find that it's satisfying to grab an object and put it on yourself. Maybe it's like when you're a baby and you want to put everything in your mouth. It's similar to that. There's a lot of new to VR interacting with everything in the world as if for the first time. And I think especially there's an excitement to finding an object that you know how to interact with in real life. So if it's something like a hat, I want to put on the hat. If it's a donut, I want to eat the donut. If it's coffee, I want to pour it all over my head. Yeah, I interact very similarly, even if it's in a level that we've been working on. It's hard not to just grab everything and either collect it or put it on myself or smash it on the ground. It's super fun to play with those toys.
It's really fun to do it in ways you couldn't do in real life, like
Right.
throwing things at your face and having them go where they should be.
Another subtle hint.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Maybe. Oh, that's funny. Oh, this is
Breaking
good.
all that glass and then not having clean up afterwards.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, breaking glass in VR is pretty awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Let's see, Adid asks, how long does it take for a level to go from concept to complete? So all the way. And how many people work on the team? So let's go with, so let's break it up. So how long does it take for a level from concept to, just complete? Not shipping, but whenever it's done.
Sounds like a John question.
Only there was a producer here.
Should we
Yeah.
swap, hot swap? Hot swap.
I know these answers. I'm John. I'm the producer. It takes 20 weeks to go from concept to complete.
Only 20 weeks.
Only 20 weeks.
Very cool. And then how many people work on the
Well, it
team?
doesn't feel like that. It felt like 20 years.
We've aged horribly.
I feel like I've been on this project 20 years.
Yeah.
Then how many people on the team, John?
Averages to about 11.
Very cool. All right. And then where do you see the fluctuation of the team members jumping on versus coming off? Or does that change based on the need?
It does change based on the need. We try really hard to keep people on,
Mhm.
minimize jumping on and off, but we usually lose our concept artist, somewhere into alpha or beta,
Mhm.
as we're no longer concepting the game.
Sure.
And doing 2D art, and then we might have like sound or other people roll on a little later.
Okay.
Sometimes, but for the past 2 levels, we've tried really hard to preserve like a solid team through the whole process.
Cool.
Also, it's somewhat skill dependent of like who is on the team. So like someone like Dan, who's very multi-talented, can fill a lot of roles. Where like on the original 4 levels, like we could have had 2 or 3 different people roll through like half time or quarter time on the level to do things like UI art for like the projector slides and the menus and all the other things you find in the game. And then someone is like doing visual effects, like all the explosions in the game and all the poison gas and everything else. And and Dan's also done a lot of the 3D modeling. Dan wears a lot of hats and he wears them well, so we just get full-time Dan. Whereas
Yeah.
on the original game, we might have had a bunch of different people roll through that same amount of head count, but do different things for a short period of time and then roll off and do some horse trading with different teams for who's available when.
I will say though, the more artists, usually the better it is.
Excellent. Cool. There any other questions coming in? Okay, so we will.
What did you do, Charlie?
Yeah, that's right. Did you just? Yeah, Charlie. If Charlie told you to leave, to come back.
Am I supposed to be reading something?
Yeah. So we will end with one of my favorite questions that I wanted to ask. If you guys, do you guys have a particular? Because I'm a big Bond fan, but I know some people just like regular, action movies or spy movies or a movie that could get inspiration for I Expect You to Die, whether this level or some of the future content that is coming. Do you guys have a particular favorite movie or comic or inspiration?
Limerick.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw out there Casino Royale has a special place in my heart, the Daniel Craig one, but mostly because Chris Cornell did the opening theme for that. I
Love that song.
I love that song and that opening intro for that.
Yeah.
Just like the poker theme that with all that motion graphics was just gorgeous.
Love it, yeah. John, anything?
I controversially side with the Mission Impossible movies.
Okay.
I like them a lot. I grew up starting with the Roger Moore Bonds,
Mhm.
which are tough.
A little.
He's a tough Bond. I mean, they're entertaining and they're silly, but we rewatched Moonraker, and it is like an amazing comedy, even though it wasn't intended to be a comedy. But it's, yeah, I don't know. I like the gadgety stuff, and I feel like Mission Impossible has kind of like taken over the gadget and stunt department
Mhm.
from the Bond films.
I like the newer Daniel Craig Bond movies. They're just fun. They don't have as many cool gadgets as the old ones. Like John said, the old ones are okay if you watch them as a comedy. I grew up with my dad. Loved to watch the old Sean Connery ones. And as I've grown older, I've watched them again and been like, whew, yikes. So if I watch them as a comedy, it's not so bad. And the newer ones are definitely just fun to watch. It's tons of explosions. I'm a simple guy. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Oh, go for it.
Some of my favorite spy references are not James Bond or Mission Impossible. It's I grew up watching Totally Spies. It's super girly, but they have a way of making gadgets and things around you seem really cool, and they're not like the really stereotypical, I don't know, just guns, I guess. And then in Spy Kids, it's just like you see a whole bunch of diverse characters just messing around in a number of possibilities. So, yeah, those are good references.
Take any object. Oh, what does it do? It's also a gun.
Whoa!
To be fair, sometimes in James Bond movies, look what is it? Oh, it's actually a helicopter.
Yeah.
With guns.
Okay, yeah.
With guns.
I like silly spy movies. So Mission Impossible, but like TV series from really long ago that I didn't know was a thing until recently, and then I was like, wow, this is amazing. This is what all spy movies should be. So yes, that like the sillier, the less seriously it takes itself, I think, the better, in my opinion.
So I was thinking for a while, and I don't really particularly like the Bond movies. I do like the Mission Impossible movies more. I think Mission Impossible 3 is kind of funny because it's all about the gadgets, but they all like fail in some way. But I do like watching like CSI and like the procedurals. I think just because usually I like watching something in the background while I'm working. And so you sort of know what to expect, but then they always feature like some new thing or a new gadget or a new way to find like fingerprints or something weird, and that's interesting to watch. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, I'm a Bond guy. Loved. Yeah. I mean, whether it's the funniness of it or it's like who would really do that? Oh, okay. They're gonna do it. Okay. You know, like sometimes you just take the leap of faith with them. It's like, oh, of course, you're a super crazy spy. Yeah, that's totally going to happen. You know, that it's like the Fast and Furious, you know, but just with spies. Like, no one's really going to in Fast and Furious like hold a missile. Like that's so dumb.
It's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. So
Pretty
when yeah, but it's amazing. Yeah, so it's same with like a super spy. It's like there's no way they're going to. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's awesome.
To the point about the Fast and Furious, though, let the record show we had the idea for playing in the airplane before the movie with the cars and the airplanes came out.
Okay.
We did not steal from them.
Okay, so I didn't know. See, I haven't watched Fast and Furious since I think the third one, so I don't know.
They're on like 11.
I know. I missed.
It just keeps amping up. You have to,
Yeah. I think with this next one, somebody grabs a helicopter or something. I don't know.
And it's an offshoot style, like Hobbs and Shaw. So they're like starting to branch off into other like sub stories.
See, I didn't know that was part of Fast and Furious.
Maybe we'll do that one day too. After I Expect to Die 11, then we'll start branching off.
Yeah, cool. Master K had already found levels 11 through 16, so
Yeah, we can find them too.
yeah, that's it.
I don't know. Maybe someone on the team has been holding them. There's extra levels that they're not telling, but they
Probably
didn't
good.
tell me. I don't know.
But are they? But to your
Maybe
point.
that's where the bathroom levels are.
Oh, we gotta find them. My favorite Daniel Craig one is Skyfall. One because of the theme song that Adele did, absolutely loved it, and then just trying to, because it's an offshoot of the Ian Fleming novels, and so I thought that was a cool way that they approached that. Cool. So unless there are any other questions, or any other questions coming, okay. So okay. So Charlie broke the YouTube texting, so John can't text bye, but we'll say bye on the chat, or on the live stream, not on the chat. So thank you guys so much for coming in and listening to the dev team talk about I Expect You to Die. You can see all the information about the game on its website. You can just go to iexpectyouto.die.com. It'll take you right there with all the news updates. You can follow I Expect You to Die on Twitter and on Facebook. You can follow the studio by subscribing to our YouTube channel and the subsequent channels on Facebook and Twitter as well. We always try to share the same type of information for what's going on in the game. Look out for more information about the Seat of Power in the next coming months. We're super excited to bring it to you in the summer, and there'll be more announcements about the additional content coming out after Seat of Power. If you haven't bought the Quest, buy the Quest now. The I Expect You to Die is on it. People love it. You will too. And hope to see you next month. Take care.
Bye.
Cool.
Did we
Off
stop
YouTube
streaming or
and-
we stop?
Did you hit the broadcast off
To
of
pretend like
Facebook?
we're discussing things.